What's cooking, New Ulm? I'm Rebecca Fliszar, the dietitian with the Hearts Beat Back Heart of New Ulm project, working to reduce and eventually eliminate heart attacks in the 56073 zip code. All right, so tonight we have a recipe that was submitted by Pond Street MC. This is going to be very unique. We're going to see how this goes. So we're going to combine some foods that maybe we haven't tried before. We're going to come up with some really great flavor. The base of this recipe is going to be 1 head of cabbage. We're going to use some chicken breast in here. And then we're going to create a delicious peanut sauce. With that, we're going to use some coconut milk. And we do have the light coconut milk. We're going to use some peanut butter, crushed peanuts. We're going to add a little bit of lemon in that. And we're going to throw in just a hint of sugar. We'll see how this is going to turn out. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we're cutting out our cabbage. We're going to cut this into nice small pieces. Make sure we get that core out. Let's core this down here. All right, so now what I want to do is we want to break this up and dice it into pieces. Leave that out. You know, when you're adding this in, has a very Asian flavor to it. We're going to make this into basically a stir fry in the stove. Dice that up. First thing we're going to do is get all of our ingredients ready to go. Remember, cabbage is going to be a nice source of our vitamin K. It's going to be very filling, a little bit higher in nutrients than our regular head lettuce, so that's a good choice. If you want to add a little different flavor, you can always go with your red cabbage. Again, that's going to be a little bit deeper in some of our antioxidants. We're going to go with just the green for tonight. Now, it looks like we're chopping up a lot, but as soon as this hits the heat, you're going to see this condense down very quickly. So I want to make sure we chop up plenty of the cabbage. All right. All right. Chop up a little bit more here. Remember, this is going to be part of our filler. It's going to be a high fiber source in our vegetables, so the more we can add of the cabbage, the better. Now, when we make this peanut sauce, you're going to see that we're going to have some fairly high calorie items in here. Peanut butter itself is a good source of protein, but does contain a lot of calories. So, the same holds true with the coconut milk. It has delicious flavor, but we do want to be careful with the quantity that we use. Now, when we put it all together, it is going to be high fat, but we are going to limit our portions and make sure that we follow our portion recommendations, and that's going to fit just fine into our heart-healthy diet. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to take our chicken breast back to the stove first. We're going to get these heated all the way through and dice these up first. We'll do that. And then we're going to go ahead and add in the cabbage. Now, you might remember quite some time ago we had a recipe called yakisoba, and it used this kind of basic principle of using in that cabbage. Now, that yakisoba actually used pork. So if you're looking for a good pork recipe, go ahead and check out our website at heartsbeatback.org and pull up yakisoba. That was a delicious recipe that I often use at home, and my kids really, really enjoy. All right, I think we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and heat up our oil, and we'll get started on the stove. I'm just going to be using just a small amount of olive oil. I really like the taste of olive oil. Remember, olive oil is has the highest level of antioxidants. Now, if the cost of olive oil becomes a barrier to you, that's all right. You can substitute out canola or safflower or even your basic vegetable oil if that's what's part of your budget. But our ideal oil is always the olive oil. Olive oil is going to help bring up your good cholesterol and down your bad because it's high in mono and polyunsaturated fats. Got the bottom already well coated. Let's grab that chicken and start throwing it in here. Now, with chicken, we want to get that up to 165 internal temperature, but instead of trying to measure all of our small pieces, we just want to make sure the juices are running clear and that it's white all the way through. Okay. It's not going to take long on these small pieces. You don't want to overcook the chicken. So while this is heating up, let's go ahead and start our back burner here. You can see that's already starting to turn white, so we're going to keep a close eye on that. We're going to start our back burner, and we're going to start creating our sauce. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in our light coconut milk. And then we're going to add in our peanut butter. We're going to just add a couple of tablespoons here. We're going to let that mix up a little bit there. All right. Now, as soon as these are done, we're going to start adding in that cabbage. Let's see, we got a little ways to go yet. Chicken is a lean source of protein. It's going to be lower in fat. You want to make sure you're always choosing your white meat. Our dark meat in chicken actually contains a fair bit of cholesterol. Actually more cholesterol than some of even our beef cuts. So don't be fooled. Just because it's poultry doesn't mean it's healthy. We got to make sure we're making good choices on our cuts and always look for those lean proteins. All right. Let's start mixing this in, and it's going to start thinning out that peanut butter just a bit. Okay. Now we're ready to start adding in our cabbage. And as I said, you're going to see this really dissolve fairly quickly. You want to get a lot in there. There we go. Now this peanut sauce, you can see, is slowly melting down and breaking down the peanut butter, making a nice thick liquid that's going to go on top. All right. Now our cabbage is going to leach out its water, so we don't need to be adding any fluid in here yet. If you feel like it's getting too dry, go ahead and add a little bit of water. Keep bringing that down. All right. Now our chicken is fully browned. We're just going to cook that down a bit more. Our peanut butter is fully dissolved now into our coconut milk, and so with that, I want to add just some crushed peanuts in there. So we're going to take some regular unsalted nuts and break those down. And we're going to add those right into our container. That's going to add even a more distinctive peanut butter flavor to this. All right. You can see this is getting thinner and thinner. There we go. We're going to let that sauce thicken just a bit. Take out this big one here. Now we're about half the size that we were when we first put in the cabbage. I think our sauce is about ready to go. It's nice and thick. It's going to be delicious. Okay. Now you're starting to see that the cabbage is becoming a bit opaque. We've changed the color quite a bit. And this is going to make quite a few servings. This is going to be 6 to 8 servings just in this pan. It's going to be great and nice and filling. Now, if you wanted to put this on a bed of lettuce, rice, you'd be perfectly fine doing that as well. Your cabbage is a nice filler, but if you wanted to thin this out a bit more, feel free to put it over that bed of rice. We're going to add just a bit of sugar into our peanut butter mix. To sweeten that up just a bit. Now I do use a Splenda sugar mix. So this is only 5 calories per teaspoon, but it still has that same sweet flavor. I'm going to keep cooking that down. And then we want to take a fresh lemon and squeeze some lemon juice over the top. Now you can use pre-squeezed lemon juice, but there's nothing like fresh lemon to really add to a dish. All right. I think we're pretty well cooked down here. All right, we're ready to add this sauce onto our dish here. So you can see where the chicken is at. Pretty well fully cooked. Our cabbage is nice and soft. We'll bring this over to the counter and we'll get ready to bring them together. Lots of cabbage. All right. We'll grab our peanut sauce here. The handle's a little bit hot. Okay, we're going to add that right onto the top. Keep mixing that together. Now you're going to add your peanut sauce to your consistency. I don't like things overly runny, and I am watching the overall calorie intake of this meal, so I'm going to use about half of what was prepared. There we go. Another 2-pot meal. I like to keep them down to 1 or 2 pots to make cleanup nice and easy. This is going to have a very Asian, distinct cabbage and peanut flavor, something that your family hasn't experienced in the past, but we'll see coming up in the future. All right, that's it for this week's episode of What's Cooking, New Ulm. I'm Rebecca Fliszar, and we'll see you next week.